as far as the future of Byzantine chant in America, the hope for a future of Byzantine chant in America, what are the next steps? What, given what you've seen, right? What do you think is the next step for Byzantine chant in America?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm compelled to say that perhaps, I don't want to go out into deep waters. If I wanted to be honest, I don't see in our young people a love for the liturgical life of the church. I don't see them drawn to worship. Frankly, I don't see young people being drawn to Byzantine music. And frankly, I don't see young adults being so drawn to joining a choir and singing with other older people. It's like, you ask a young adult today, even just what their name is in the setting of their peers, and they like turn bright red, like they don't even want to answer. So in view of that, George, and I know I'm totally making this very all-encompassing comment, and it's probably not the case, but my gut is telling me that we're not going to have great numbers of young adults pouring into our Western choirs in the GOA or in our Byzantine schools. And that will inevitably lead to an atrophy within Western choirs, I would say, and Byzantine. So the few who God will inspire to continue are the ones who I think every parish or every region geographically should try to establish a school of Byzantine music. I'll let the cat out of the box. Is that the saying? When we had first established the school of Byzantine music, we had said it's going to be one branch of what we were calling then AIM, AIM, Archdiocesan Institute of Music, which would then have two components: Byzantine, choral, Western music, to try to activate and bring to life again young adults. It never materialized. We thought of introducing instruments, classical and Eastern, kind of music. It didn't really materialize. Probably because you need the right people in the right places, and I was not capable of kind of doing this kind of thing. It's above me. But I do think that the future has to have access to learning. And the future probably, I see, has less complicated music than the music that we may chant on a given Sunday, especially cherubic hymns and things like that. I think it'll be a natural simplification without losing the essence, and then building back up to more intense pieces. It's kind of how I feel. And these classes being accessible in English as just a demographic shift, you're going to have to analogously shift. You can't hold with no second thought. Byzantine chant is here, okay. English and Greek is also here. So that would be kind of my very carefully, hopefully stated response to your question. And I don't mean that unkindly to anyone, neither Western choirs or anyone. It's just how I see things.
So, I think my own personal, just from my own experiences, my opinion would be a little bit different. Seeing the recent influx of converts from other faiths so I agree with, especially with the first part that you said about sort of the younger generations now being sort of disinterested in the liturgical life. I see that firsthand for sure. I work primarily as a youth coordinator, and so implementing the liturgical life and these things into their lives is difficult, because sometimes it feels like it's being flat out rejected, and it's really sad. However, I think that it shouldn't be understated that the people who are now entering the church, this massive influx of converts that's happening across the United States right now, it can't be understated how important it is, the type of convert that we're receiving, right? Because it's not people who, right? It's not like our people who grow up in the church,
Right.
and they are accustomed to these things and then end up taking them for granted, but rather, they need to learn about the faith, right? So most of the people that come in, they come from other faith backgrounds, and then they read about church history and discover Orthodoxy. So there's people who have been Orthodox for a year, 2 years, some catechumens who know way more about the faith, at least on a, not about the phronima or anything, but at least in principle, right? From an academic perspective, they know like way more about the faith than I do. And it's with time they'll develop the phronima and the mindset of, an Orthodox Christian, that only time can take. But I think in regard to chanting, those people are, like I said in the beginning when I was talking about the young adult choir that I just now started, there's such a zeal from them. There's such a zeal. And there's especially a zeal for the more traditional things that they felt that were lacking in their churches that they came from.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many people, all the people who want to learn chant now are people who are coming into Orthodoxy. So I think that's very beautiful. And also, yeah, we have started, the Antiochian Archdiocese has started a ecclesiastical music school, and there is a Byzantine side and a Western side, and they keep having to make new classes because they can't accommodate all the students that want to learn Byzantine, yeah, primarily Byzantine chant. I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are, but at least I can speak for the Byzantine side and say they need to create all of these new classes and find, teachers and things to do them, because there's such a zeal to learn this. So maybe I'm definitely coming at it from a different perspective. But I think
you raise very good, points. They had asked once a 20th century theologian in America, what do you have to say, Father, about the future of Orthodoxy and converts? You know what his answer was? Converts are the future of Orthodoxy in America. We don't have these huge influxes of migrants, immigrants anymore. So you raise a very good point. George, and I will modify my thinking based on that. That these so-called converts, they have other desires. They have the will and the desire to learn certain things, and among that could be very well Byzantine chant.
Mm-hmm. And to add one more thing to the point about sort of our own people being disinterested, or I don't want to say disinterested, but at least not interested in these things. Apathetic, right? Yeah. I see in the young children, K through, or even younger, through third, fourth, maybe fifth grade, it's there. That fire is there. I also work with a youth choir, and so we have kids from kindergarten to fifth grade, essentially. They love being in the church and learning about the music. And we just learn by rote, essentially, but we're learning the hymns of the liturgy right now. So they're going through Kyrie eleison, Tes presvies, Sosonimas, Homonoyenis, all of these things, the Trisagion, and we'll eventually go till they learn a full liturgy, right? And they love it so much. And the parents tell me all the time,
it's crazy.
They're always chanting in the house, right? One of them told me that one of the kids who's not in the choir, his brother's in the choir, but she told me that her one son, who they attend church regularly, he'll be chanting. His favorite hymn to chant out in public is Eonia Imnimi. Said one day we're going to see some Greek people in public, and she's going to have a lot of explaining to do.
He's weeping for the world.
Right. For those who don't know, Eonia Imnimi is memory eternal. But I was saying that to say that the fire is there, at least at some point, and then it's lost. It's lost as a result, I would say, primarily of the society that we're in now. And I think that keeping the church the core of their lives will only will only further allow them to, not be apathetic to these things, and to allow them into their hearts, and to keep them there, right? To keep them there. Because then, if that doesn't happen, then it's just the same story as, Israel in the New Testament, right? Where, like, they rejected God, and then God gave it to the nations, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now. But we need to work so hard for not only for chanting, but for the whole life of the church, that we keep that flame lit. And I think music is such a beautiful way to do that.